What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Super Gamer Boys. I'm your host, Colonel and Dad, Garrett Morlang. And here in the virtual studio with me is the king of video games and still resident superstar, Adrian Holmes. What's up, Adrian?
Garrett, my man. Here we are. Another week, another potential disaster in the making. But we'll talk about that later. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I know, I feel like, and I said this last week, there was a certain news story about a certain console maker that I like felt bad. I'm like, man, you know what? Let's cut this short because we've been beating this dead horse for a few weeks, and then they go and do something again this week. So we're gonna.
And they're like, no, hurt me more. I like it.
Hurt me more. It's like freaking Cyborg Ninja, Metal Gear Solid. Yes. So doing good. Other than just like, what's going on? Just shaking my head. But I also want to introduce here to the virtual studio the heavyweight botcasting champion of the world, Super Gamer Bot. That's right. He's
Super Gamer Bot back in the building.
They're back for another week. They already have a longer streak than JJ ever had. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there. But
I mean, the truth is the truth.
Yeah. But yeah, we are joined by the AI once again. Good to have them. And yeah, they'll be chiming in later on the show here. But today,
we got to figure out a way to have it like, you know how when people do tips on Twitch and it reads it out in a voice?
It does like the generic like Microsoft voice thing.
Yes. like somehow we can make it interject, like if it's listening to the conversation or something, or we type in a topic and it can give us thoughts about it.
Yeah.
And then it just, what do you think, Super Gamer Bot? And then we click on, play the voice.
Well, I mean, it would be a process, but what I could technically do is ask ChatGPT and then copy and paste its response into just Microsoft Voice, and it would just read it out loud.
Yeah.
on the podcast. It'd be super cheesy.
That would be pretty good.
Computing, give me 30 seconds. Oh man, so good. But today we're going to be talking about Asus's challenger to the Steam Deck, the downfall of Redfall, and Xbox's plan beyond the Activision Blizzard deal. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our Patreon producers, Bumple Smash, Eddie Martin, and Kajoma01, and our Super Gamer sponsors, Julie Bates and Mama Mare. If you want to be awesome just like those folks, head over to patreon.com/supergamerboys where you can support us starting at just $1 a month. That's right, $1. And you could be getting episodes early and ad-free, such as this episode, this very, very show, or our other show, Super Gamer Book Club, hosted by Adrian over there. There is a brand spanking new episode out right now for you Patreon supporters. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, me and Adrian.
Fantastic game.
Just dive into that one. It's so good. I was extremely proud of my social media post, too. I don't know if you noticed that. The verbiage, just making it really on brand there with the Phoenix Wright. Yeah, go check that out. Just $1. You can get it 2 months early. If you're on the fence about supporting us though, and you just want to check out some previous episodes, 2 months out, you can get those ones for free on any podcast app. Just search for Super Gamer Book Club or youtube.com/supergamerboys. You can watch them. And right now it's the Hi-Fi Rush with DJ Trues. So go check out that episode. Game. Such a good game. That's really Xbox's only win in the last 2-3 years. So
I was gonna say years.
we gotta celebrate it when we can. They're not completely dead. Their souls aren't completely crushed over there. But go check that episode out. And upcoming, I have something here in the notes, but I don't know if it's for sure. I never heard of for sure from you what the plan is. So,
all right.
Do you know what this next one is going to be?
I do. So for this month, we are going to close the book on this season of Super Gamer Book Club, but we're going to round it out in style. I could not let the season finish without completing the Triforce of Super Nintendo all-time classics.
Yes, the whole.
We've done A Link to the Past. We've done Super Mario World, both masterpieces in their own right. But there's one more game that many would say rounds out the trilogy, and that's none other than the absolute gem and my favorite game of all time, Super Metroid.
Wow. Okay. I have only played little bits and pieces of this, never finished it, so I'm excited about this one.
Yes. Hopefully, I am in talks. I gotta follow up with them. We can have the Nintendo Cartridge Society back to round this out with us.
Right. As is tradition. They've been with us the other two times, so they have to. Whether they like it or not, they're going to be on it.
So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, this is our Super Gamer Book Club Season 2 finale. And we might have some things in the works after that. So keep your eyes peeled and keep your ears to the ground.
We'll see. Yeah, we're trying to make you guys some awesome things here, and sometimes for some new things to start up, some other things got to come to an end, at least for a little bit. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to some Super Metroid. But we'll talk more about our Patreon later on the show. I want to give a big old shout out to Jack Sriracha and Yate for allowing us to use their music on our show. Make sure you go check them out. You can find the links in the show description below on YouTube, or in the show description on your podcast app. Links to Spotify and Apple Music. And if you can't find the links for whatever reason, just do a search. It's really easy. Jack Sriracha and Yate, Yate, pretty easy. And they pop right up. So go give them a follow. Listen to them. Support their awesome music. All right. You know what? It's now time to check the mailbag. And as we all know, the mailbag is now entirely, I guess, held by, and organized by, and coordinated, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not coordinated. The AI is in charge. Basically, we've just totally given into the matrix and like, hey, you know what? Like, we're worthless flesh bags. You know better than us, our AI overlords. So Super Gamer Bot is now in charge of the mailbag. And they've curated, that was the word I was looking for, curated a nice little selection of questions here. So we did get a question from a real life human being, though, from Sir Prince-A-Lot over at supergamerboys.com/Discord. He joined us over there, and you can too, totally free. You don't have to support us on Patreon or anything to do that. You can chat with us throughout the week, hang out, talk about the news, talk about what you're playing, and ask us questions for the show. And we really hope you do, because it's really fun when we get questions from you guys, the listeners. So think about heading over there and dropping some questions for us to answer here on air. But this first question from Sir Prince-A-Lot is, what Star Wars character / side story needs their own standalone movie like Rogue One? And what's the plot? His suggestion here is, now I'm going to give you guys some context. This is also the person who we talked about, I think it was this last week, is a huge fan of the Gollum game, right? The one that's upcoming. Which he sent me immediately. He sent me a Instagram reel about this guy who talked about how was raving about it, talking about how incredible the game is. So apparently,
let's hope
Sir Prince-A-Lot's not the only one who's stoked about it. But he suggested a Watto origin story. God. So, I mean, I think he's onto something there. You know, I need more of that.
Yes, yeah. You know,
spunky Toydarian
of
in my
hundreds
life.
of characters in Star Wars. Yeah, we need a Watto game. We need a game about the guy who has slavers and funds pod races. Yes, of course.
I mean, I would just love to see, like, what was it like growing up? Like, why is he the way he is? Because you know what? Like, maybe he was just dealt a real bad hand.
Because Tatooine, that's why.
Yeah, that's true. Because Tatooine. I mean, that's honestly George Lucas's answers to a lot of things, though.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Tatooine. It all comes back to Tatooine.
Yeah.
No matter how hard you try to get away, it always just comes back to Tatooine. I would love, so I'm saying this because I'm just completely uneducated on the Clone Wars TV show and like I haven't watched any of the animated shows. Let's put it at that. But some sort of expansion on Darth Maul's story. Whether it's a prequel, like pre-episode 1, that would be cool, because I know that hasn't been touched on, I don't think, in any of the animated shows. Or even if it is like a rehashing of some of the stuff that we see in like some of the animated shows, but just like live action, like bring back the original dude. Like, I don't know. I think that'd be sick.
So most likely it would be the latter of what you're talking about, because they have brought Darth Maul back. He was in Clone Wars.
He was in Yeah,
He was in Rebels, and he was also in that. Yeah, and he was also in that new the Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus.
Was he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. How did I miss that?
I think. Wait, no, I'm thinking of Am I thinking of Rebels? Am I conflating the two?
No, you see, he might have been in Rebels. You said Obi-Wan. I don't think he was in Obi-Wan. You might be right about Rebels.
I know he's in Rebels for sure.
Okay. You said Obi-Wan though, and I was like, I don't remember it being.
Oh no,
Obi-Wan,
sorry, he was supposed to be in it. He was cut.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Darth Maul was an awesome character. Like, just what little we got of him. Like, he just seems like...
Do you think he's awesome because he looked cool? Is that why? With the red and black and the spikes?
So, yeah, he looked cool, but he had such... He had a really awesome fighting style. Like, it's different than any other, like, Sith we see. Like, it's just so much more, like, acrobatic, and the double blade is iconic. Like, he's one of the only ones that we ever really see, at least in the movie canon, that ever has a double lightsaber. So it's like...
Right.
I don't know. There was just so much that they could have done with him, and then they just like, yeah, it's like, so yeah, there's just so much potential there that they could have made him into a cool character wise, you know, like with through character building. Like, oh man, like there's this like so much different from other Jedi and Sith and characters in that canon. So, and even just like the alien race that he is, I forget what it is, but
I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know.
Well, they bring it up in
here. I'll Google it real quick.
Jedi in Jedi Fallen Order. I think they like because you go to the planet basically where he's originally from.
Yeah, there's other of his species. It's not him though.
Right, I know, but that's what I'm saying though. Like, there's this like that's such a rare like planet and race that's like you really only ever see it in like
this
up
is
until
very
Jedi
clever.
Fallen Order.
They are from the planet Dathomir, and their species is Dathomirian.
Oh, that makes sense. I knew the planet name. I didn't make the connection that they would just...
You don't want to give them a specific kind of name. They're just Dathomirian, huh?
Just
okay.
Dathomirian. All right. Yeah, so that's my thing. I think something with Darth Maul, whether it's like him getting hooked up with the Emperor the first time, or yeah, even post then, like after he gets his legs chopped off, you know, I don't know.
Oh man, this is a tough one because a lot of the characters that I wanted to see more on have gotten stuff at this point. Like I said, we just got the Obi-Wan series. I'm trying to think. We're gonna get more of the Rebels canon with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
She's got a lot. I said it, and pretty much everybody who is a fan of Rebels said it. This is basically the next season of Rebels with how many of those characters are in it.
Yeah, I know. Once I saw the trailer, and I always watch new Rockstars, their breakdowns. I'm like, I really need to watch like Clone Wars and especially Rebels now. Like, there's like
Rebels
so much. I feel
so
like
good, dude.
I feel like I'm like missing out on so much of the story. Like even in Mandalorian with Bo-Katan, I'm like, her whole story is in Rebels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I picked up the only reason I knew what was going on with her is just like watching the new Rockstars like breakdowns and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. But I've never actually seen the show, but one day.
Yeah, they are tying a lot of the content here that they're producing lately. They're really starting to include Rebels lore into it, and I'm here for it. So much so, I think was it episode 8 that had Hera's ship in it? It was 8 or 9, I think. It was for only I think it was 8 because they were doing when they sent the distress call out, and then everybody started showing up. I think her ship was one of the ones, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, Rebels rules. I can't really think of anybody that I'm like, oh, I need to see more about this person. We're getting more stuff on Thrawn. I guess maybe Revan, but that might be that might be explained in the new Jedi game. Apparently, people are theorizing that that guy in the tank might be Revan. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
I
just
don't
want
know.
like I just want like a reality TV show style, like behind the scenes, almost like day in the life running the business of Jabba the Hutt, just like his whole his club
The
slash
underworld stuff.
underworld stuff, like where it's like mockumentary style, and he's like talking to the camera and just sending people out on missions. Like that's what I want. I want like mockumentary Office style, but with Jabba the Hutt trying to run his dang underworld business with like incompetent like employees and stuff like that.
Actually, I take it back. I know what I would want an expansion on. Delta Squad. I know there's books and stuff, but I want like an actual media project. Another game, a movie. Apparently they make a cameo in the Bad Batch. A couple
Delta
of them
Squad
do.
is Republic Commando, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the best thing about the game was the squad. So I would like to see more of them. Hopefully they bring them back into the fold somehow. I still think that game, I think there's a lot of ideas that they're leaving on the floor that they could remake it and really do something, but
it very badly needs to be remade. That's for sure. If all the games. Oh man. Yeah. I like that. I like that idea, especially, I mean, well, I like that idea, but it just means that people would have to go play that game, and I don't know if I could recommend anyone go play.
No,
that
it's
game
a reboot.
with,
we're
with
rebooting
good
it.
conscience. So yeah, they'd have to remake the game and then start tying it into shows.
It's a reboot. Yeah, we can use the same lore, but we're this is the jumping off point.
Yeah. All right. This next question comes from Super Gamer Bot, and they ask, "Do you prefer open world or linear games, and why?" It's a tricky one.
It is, because I don't necessarily. I don't
which
know.
one? Let's just say, like, which one do you lean more towards? I guess because, like, obviously, there's going to be games in both camps that we like.
Right.
But which one do you generally like? Feel like you see a trailer of it, and you're immediately like, or you hear like, oh, such and such game is this, you're automatically like, oh yeah, no, I'm probably gonna like that. Then like,
I guess I would have to say linear, because a lot of times when I see trailers, especially like for big marquee titles, less so for indie games, depending on the situation, but I'm always like, what is the story going to be for this? So that would, I guess, put me in the linear camp versus the open world, because open world is more gameplay focused.
Right.
So
yeah, I think I agree with you. And I mean, this is kind of something that we've talked about years past. It's been a while since we've really brought it up, but no, games that are more linear and story focused are kind of my jam. Like I can appreciate and enjoy my time in an open world game. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll have fun in it, but I am far less likely to complete those games only because the plot can get lost so quickly. You know,
Right.
You're off doing a million little side quests, or you're trying to build your little house or whatever, like upgrade your weapon system. I'm like, just let me play the game. Just feed me more story. Like I'm even the type of guy where in a linear game, like there's times where it's just like I start itching, like, just give me the next story point. Like, I've been going through this corridor fighting these bad guys long enough. All right, like, just give me the next like cutscene or something. Tell me more story. So I'm impatient even with linear games. So imagine how impatient I can get with an open world game. So I don't know.
I'd say I'm about 60-40.
Okay.
60 linear, 40 open world. I enjoy, like I said, like just like you, I enjoy a good open world game here and there.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a good hook or if the mechanics are very good. But yeah, I appreciate a really well told story. Now, if you can put them both together, then you got something kind of like a Celeste situation where it was a really good story and masterclass gameplay. Oh, speaking to my soul. But yeah, I say I'm about 60-40.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I could put a percentage on it, but I'm definitely like heavily lean towards like the linear camp. Again, unless it's like had just an open world game that just has a spectacular story, or just some sort of gameplay hook that is just gameplay hook or a lore that's just really interesting. So like Elden Ring, sucked me in super hard for a few months, because it was just like, oh, okay, like the gameplay is challenging, but it was actually doable for me compared to previous, Soulsborne games.
I mean, but in Elden Ring, the world is the lore.
And then, yeah, like the lore is just so interesting, and like just, I don't know, I love that feel. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm all about this. I don't know what's going on, but it looks sick. Like
Right.
it had enough style to make up for the lack of like what they were telling you, I guess. So, yeah, I forget if I talked about it on last week's episode or if I was talking, it was like after the show, because I think I was telling you it was last week sometime, but like sometimes I wonder if I have ADHD, because like I am like all over the place sometimes. I have such a hard time just like focusing on like not even video games, just day-to-day things, anything. Like I just like I'm all over the place sometimes. Like I don't know, I've never been tested.
Too many interests, maybe.
There's been a few times though, like, yeah, but it's talking about if we want to dial in on just video games, it's like I'm like, ooh, shiny, ooh, what's that over there? Oh, over here. The next thing you know, I'm like 25% through 100 quests, and I'm like, shoot, now what do I do?
Now this next game's coming out.
Yeah. No. All right, move on to the next one. Delete that off my hard drive. Oh man. Sorry about that. Cough caught me off guard there. This last question comes to us also from Super Gamer Bot, and they ask, with so many video games being released each year, how do you decide which ones to play and which ones to skip?
I mean, it has to be good, number one.
Yes.
It has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and what you say there is like the way I used to buy games. I pre-ordered games a lot in my past. But in the last probably like year and a half of like, us, doing the show more and having more discussions, I've backed off that train, and I'm so much happier for it, because I would pre-order things, and I don't know if I was ever actually disappointed by a game. I think I just got lucky for sure. But looking at some of the releases the last year and a half from like PlayStation and Xbox, it's like, or in particularly Xbox, it's like, whew, I dodged that bullet. I almost pre-ordered that on PC, and like I could have been a bummer. So yeah, so if that's numero uno right there, like, is it good? That makes a big difference.
There are, as far as pre-ordering goes, I think there are very few and far between instances where I can see somebody saying, oh no, I pre-ordered that, I'm fine. I think if the developer has a good track record of quality, so like I can see people pre-ordering a Naughty Dog game. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Naughty Dog rarely, if ever, misses. Supergiant Games, same deal. I see like Hades 2. I can see somebody pre-ordering that just because of everything else they've made is so high quality. Yeah. If there was the new Mario game coming, Mario is always at least good. So you don't lose out with Mario games normally. So, but the majority of the time, it's
Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima games, that's another one. That's what I'm saying. Kojima, he rarely, if ever, misses. But that's what I'm saying, is there are certain creators and certain studios that you can comfortably do that with, because they have a history of delivering quality. But most times, I'd say maybe 90% of the time, it's always up in the air. So, but outside of it having to be a good game, I think it has to also be something that I've been looking into for a long time, or I've been expecting. Like if I've seen it at showcases for the past year or so, or if I've been waiting for it to come out for a long time, or if I've been following the development, I think then that puts it a little bit higher in my to play list. It also would depend on my familiarity with it too. Like if there's a new Kingdom Hearts game, I'm absolutely, buying and playing that because of my familiarity with the source material and my I guess level of interest and fandom for it. But yeah, I guess those are my factors that I would judge stuff on. I don't know. Are you any different?
No, I think we're pretty much in line. Like for me too, like getting word of mouth from a reliable friend who's played it that has similar taste, or at least understands my taste. So like, you're great to ask. Like, if you play something first, I'm like, all right, I trust your taste, and also like you've come to learn what my tastes are. So a lot of times you're like, you're not gonna like that, or you'll like that, and you're usually spot on. So it's like, so I appreciate that. But yeah, and just like finding like a specific voice, whether it's, again, yeah, like a friend or just an random online influencer that you line up with, like that's what's helped me getting out of the whole like pre-ordering games and moving more into like, no, like I don't need to play it right away. I can play it, in
it'll be there.
I can play it in 2 months, 6 months, a year. Like I don't need to play it right now. Like that's what I found I've been doing recently, mostly because my backlog is so huge a lot of times. And actually, honestly, like with Super Gamer Book Club, a lot of times that game is what takes up my entire month. Like, because it takes so long for me to get through just that game, I don't even have time to play new games and then talk about them on the show. So to be honest, I'm kind of even looking forward to the little break on Super Gamer Book Clubs. And it's like, all right, yeah,
me too.
Getting some new games and actually sharing our opinions on new games on the show and stuff like that. Yeah,
I love Book Club, but I also would like to play some of the games, some of the dozens of games that I bought in the Steam Spring Sale. So that would be nice.
100%. And so, yeah, so I think I agree with everything you said. And then on top of that, just adding like really it comes up for me. It's like, even if everything else looks good, there's no red flags, I still will look for that opinion from a trusted person just to like 100% confirm, like, all right, all the other boxes were already checked, but I just wanted to hear it straight from someone who's actually touched it. Like, hey, is this really good?
Speaking of which, did you get Danganronpa?
I might have bought the 3-pack, and I might have started the first one. So
smart man.
I will talk about that on What You Playing a little later. But
okay,
I'm not as far as I would like to into it, but I still have thoughts, at least on the aesthetic.
I'm excited. I didn't
even know
you started
story
playing
so far.
it.
So yeah, I immediately was like, yep, I'm gonna jump into this one. I hot off the heels of Phoenix Wright. You recommended it in that episode. Spoilers, go listen to that on our Patreon right now. But yeah, you kind of recommended like, oh, if you're looking for something similar, and literally the next day it's like on sale on Steam. I'm like, this happens every time. You suggest a game, and then you like tag me in a post on Twitter like, hey, it's on sale right now. It's like, how does this happen every single time?
I have good taste. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I guess.
And then I must have somebody at those online stores must be listening to the show. That's the only thing that makes sense.
That's what it is. They hear our show and then they're just like, yes, now's a good time to put that on sale. Okay. Adrian said so. We got to make some money off of Garrett.
Right.
And they got me. All right. Well, that is it for the listener questions. Remember, if you want your question read on the air and answered by us, go over to, you can DM us on any of our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or if you, like I said, the more fun way is to join us at supergamerboys.com/Discord. Join our Discord server. It's completely free, and you get to chat and hang out with us throughout the week. We'd appreciate it if you joined us over there, because it's fun. It's fun to just chat video games and make fun of each other and whatever. We have a backlog challenge going on right now. It's been fun to do. So think about it. Join us over there. And now it's time for the nerdy nudes.
It's now time for the nerdy nudes.
Perfection every single time. This first news story comes to us from Jacob Roach over at Digital Trends. They write, if the leaked Asus ROG Ally price is real, the Steam Deck is in trouble. Since Asus announced its ROG Ally handheld, one question has dominated the conversation. How much will it cost? If a new leak is to be believed, the flagship model will come in at $700. Best Buy, which seems to be exclusively handling distribution in the US, had a listing briefly go live for the ROG Ally, and it shows a model with AMD's Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor, 16GB of DDR5 for memory, 512 gigabytes of storage, coming in at $700. The Steam Deck starts at $400, but if you want a reasonable amount of storage, you'll spend $650 for the 512 gig model. By the way, do not do that. Here's a little tip from Uncle Garrett and Uncle Adrian here. Buy the cheap one at $400 and upgrade the hard drive yourself, and it'll only cost you $550, and you'll have 1 terabyte in space instead of 512 gig of space. So there you go. The more you know.
For the same price.
Well, cheaper.
Or actually, a little less. Yeah.
$100 cheaper because the hard drive, the SSD, the M.2 for the 1 terabyte, it's $150. So 400 plus 150 is only 550, and the big dog is 650. So it's $100 cheaper for double the space. You can't go wrong.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Anyways, Asus claims ROG Ally doubles the performance of the Steam Deck, which is quite the kind of advertising there. We'll see if
we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. So a $50 upcharge doesn't seem unreasonable. We haven't had the chance to get raw performance numbers, but our initial hands-on time with ROG Ally shows performance far ahead of the Steam Deck. It isn't just one leaker claiming this price either. Snoopy Tech, a Twitter leaker who commonly leaks about mobile devices, confirmed the flagship model will run $700. In addition, leaker Roland Quant confirmed the price to The Verge. So it kind of goes on and on. They do kind of mention the power of this ROG Ally here. We don't know the price of the base model yet, but it has confirmed that in addition to the Z1 Extreme model, they will also have the Ryzen Z1 a normal base model. So Extreme will be the top one, and there's this normal Ryzen Z1. The less powerful version of the Z1 Extreme, but it still comes with the same Zen 4 CPU architecture and RDNA 3 GPU architecture, whatever that means. So they have a little comparison. Compared to the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally's APU is much more powerful hardware. On paper, the Z1 Extreme offers 8.6 teraflops of GPU power. Talking about flops again, just like Xbox did back in the day. While the Steam Deck's APU tops out at 1.6 teraflops. So 8.6 versus 1.6. Theoretically, it's theoretical performance, but still. It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean the ROG Ally is 6 times as fast, but it is a good illustration of how much more powerful the Ally APU really is. So the device is set to launch May 11th, so just another week and a half. There's been no confirmed pricing or models yet, but it's looking quite promising. So Adrian, what are your thoughts on the ROG Ally, and how do you feel now that we just bought a Steam Deck about 2 months ago?
So going down the list, 1, I love my Steam Deck. I don't regret buying my Steam Deck at all. I still use it pretty much, if not daily, every other day. I've actually been chipping away. Yeah, I've been chipping away at Persona 5, and let me tell you, being able to have Persona 5 running at a nice 60 frames a second and not looking like Vaseline has been smeared over it like the Switch version is very nice. So I don't regret my purchase at all, as far as that goes. However, and this is not to disparage the Asus handheld. It looks like it's a really good piece of kit. And I was reading the description of what the performance is looking like. And if it is to be believed, which is, it's basically, from what I hear, it's pretty much double a Steam Deck. I want to know, number 1, how are they getting it to be on for more than 30 minutes? And then number 2, I don't necessarily see how they can sell the top end of this for $700. If the specs are that much more powerful than a Steam Deck, and you have to remember,
Steam Deck tech, it came out over a year ago now.
Right.
So it is old tech, and they haven't necessarily updated their pricing. I think if they were to old tech, you know what I mean? Like, but if they were to update their pricing for what that technology would be today, it probably would be $100 cheaper. So, but they haven't, because there's no need to. There's no competition, and in all that. But I could see it. I could see it coming in at. I mean, you said it yourself. Like after a year, like things are speeding up. Year after year, things change. You got to think the Steam Deck came out a year ago, but their actual like prototype their final prototype would have been done. Hopefully well before last year. Like, usually that's how it works. They get the and then because then they have to source all the parts. So technically, the Steam Deck's technology could be more of a 2021 tech compared to this is going to be late 2020, 2022 tech. So a whole year on them, possibly.
Right. I don't know. I guess, but $700 for that kind of performance is it's wild to me because the Z1s just came out, right? Like this is a brand new APU, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not.
It's at least come out within the last year, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure it's fairly recent, or else they wouldn't be using it.
So just to be able to source that part, and they have a 1080p panel in it
within just 6 days ago. Apparently, there's an article right here. 6 days, that AMD releases Ryzen Z1 series, Zen 4, and RDNA 3. So it's literally like a week old. These chips.
Asus must have partnered with
get to them earlier,
right? They were just working on the projected specs of the chip without actually having it. That's pretty risky, pretty ballsy, but sometimes they must have had
some prototypes because like Linus Tech Tips, I watched their video. They have a good like 20-30 minute long video where they have hands-on and you actually get to see gameplay on it. Like one of the big things they're boasting is like a higher refresh rate. So like I think the screen on the Steam Deck is only up to 60 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say the ROG Ally does like up to like 120 hertz or something like that. So it's just 60 FPS. They could both be running a game at 60 FPS, but it'll look smoother on the ROG because of the high refresh rate screen on it and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a beef. Go check out the video from Linus Tech Tips because he goes in a lot of the details. He has a guy. It's funny. He's like keeps referencing the guy off screen who's like, you can't say that, or like you can say this or something. But he got hands on to like a 3D printed prototype thing basically, but it's like has all the guts that the original is pretty much going to have. They said, so it was impressive to watch the gameplay and hear his thoughts. Like he was actually very impressed with it, which I was surprised. He's usually pretty harsh. If he can be, he usually is like, no, I don't like this. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with Linus. He does not pull punches. I just feel like they have to be taking a loss on this. Especially if this is a brand new part, unless they did some deal with AMD to where AMD is going to eat the cost on these units. It's either going to be AMD or maybe Microsoft is pushing, putting some money in so they can kind of be like, oh, this is another alley of Game Pass that you can, play your games on. Somebody has to be taking a loss on this. There's no way this hardware sells for that price.
I mean, Asus is making so many they make everything from not only like PCs, like laptops and desktops, but they also make all the parts for your computer. Like my old GPU, actually, the GPU that you have in the desktop I sent you, that's an Asus, if I remember right. Like, so like they make graphics, they make everything. So it's like they very well could be taking a loss on this thing, but it's because they make their money up everywhere else in the PC market. They literally have their hands in every part of the PC market, from end product to what you put in your computer, Right.
I guess.
So,
you know what though? Just speaking candidly, if I'm Valve and what you and I are talking about, where the Steam Deck hardware is actually pretty old by this point, I would probably be thinking about doing a price cut.
Yeah. I mean, they did a little bit of a discount for their 1 year birthday. Remember, it was like 2 weeks after we bought ours. We're like, oh, great. We could have saved like $100 or whatever.
Well, because right now they're $349, what is it? $399, $499, and $649, something like that.
$650. Yeah, $649. Yep.
See, I'm doing $299. Yeah. I'm doing $399, and I'm doing $550.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. They could like. I think that would be a very wise decision. Or I mean, even go a hair cheaper, at least with the most expensive model, because really the only difference that's the thing. Like with the 3 models of Steam Deck, it's all the same console. The only difference is storage space. With the ROG Ally, there's actually different
processor difference.
processors. Like one is more powerful than the others. So it's like,
So
it would almost make sense for them to like
$299, $399, $499.
Just slash it completely, and get going on making the Steam Deck too, because there's this is the start of an arms race now. Like it's all out war
I'm
at this
sure they
point.
have irons in the fire, of course.
Yeah.
For Steam Deck 2, but it like we're saying, it just barely became a year old, so we probably won't see another piece of Steam hardware. I'd say at least for another 2 years.
Right.
Or Steam Deck hardware. We may see like a dedicated box, but they tried that and failed before, so they might be a little gun shy on that one.
One thing I did hear about this, I didn't say anything about it in this article, but I thought I heard somewhere that it's running Windows on this instead of like, because that's one thing, like, honestly, I'm like, man, like I love my Steam Deck, but if it ran Windows, it'd be so much easier. Cause then I could just install all my GOG games. I could install Game Pass on there. I could install because right now there's so many things that the only way to get it to work on your Steam Deck is by weird backdoor like hacking and stuff like that. And it's like, I just want to like imagine having this and just being able to like install it natively. That sounds
I mean, you
amazing.
technically can't. Valve has put out drivers to have Steam Deck work on Windows, so you can install Windows on a Steam Deck.
Right, but from everything I've heard, putting Windows on a Steam Deck just like really it cuts out I don't know. I've never heard anything good about it. A lot of people are just like, it works, but it's not great. Like the original API and software is like better, other than just the lack of compatibility.
Making a specialized like software or overlay for Windows on it, because that'd be the same thing if it's just straight up Windows put on there with no specific drivers for
I'm
button
sure
input or anything like that.
No, I'm sure it's like a specialized version of Windows that like, so it's using the base Windows but has like their own like home screen, essentially, kind of like what the Steam Deck does.
Got it.
Like that's from again, they like in the Lions Tech Tip videos, they couldn't really show too many of the menus because it was still all prototype and hush hush at this point. But but like yeah, with the Steam Deck, it's running Linux technically, right? Like it's like,
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, which by default, like, yeah, cuts out like the performance of so many games that are only Windows games, like, and there are, again, there's workarounds to make even people have gotten Game Pass to work on the Steam Deck through Linux, but it's like such a pain. It's like, it'd be nice to just like install Game Pass and it just, there it is, Well,
it's weird also that Microsoft doesn't do that. I mean, I think they see Steam Deck as a thing, right? Wouldn't you want to make a Linux port of Game Pass? Because Valve's not going to block them. They can't. They believe in the free market. So if Xbox wanted to make, hey, if you put your Steam Deck in desktop mode, go to this link and you can download the Game Pass application for Linux.
So they could do that for streaming, but as far as like downloading a game natively, that comes down to the developer to develop it for Linux because it is a different code.
Not necessarily, because most of the games on Steam Deck are running through Proton.
Right, but again, then they have to develop a Proton wrapper or whatever they call it, Proton whatever, in order to convert it to Linux. So it's like that takes development on the developer side, like whoever made the game originally, whether it's Microsoft or the Supergiant.
I feel like if I'm Microsoft, I'm trying to get Game Pass everywhere I can get it. So
I think the only reason they wouldn't want to do that is because they tend to
not like money.
Well, they have no reason to feel this way, but it's speculation. I wonder if they almost just like, because Linux is a competing operating system, we're not going to work with them. They're technically a competitor. Whatever.
How? They're free.
They're free. I mean, but exactly. But it's like when people use Linux, it takes money. Like Windows isn't getting that money then because they're using Linux instead of Windows. So it's like it is even though like it's not like they're losing money because it's not that it's going somewhere else, but that it's just not going anywhere. Like it's just like, they can just download a free operating system. So that might be my only thought why they wouldn't bring it is because it is technically a competitor.
I would argue Game Pass is a different beast though. It's not an operating system. If it was
right, but
operating
supporting
system,
your competitor's operating system by putting your gaming software on there, I think that's where the
I mean, they
thought
already
would
do that
go.
though. MLB The Show is on Xbox, and vice versa with like Minecraft is on everything.
MLB The Show though is
Is
I mean that's PlayStation. That's a PlayStation decision. Like PlayStation, we all know.
I thought that was
like,
MLB. No. Anyway,
No. Yeah.
but I'm saying there's instances of Microsoft putting their titles on other platforms, like you were saying, that's technically supporting the competition's operating system with your software. So there's precedent for it.
Yeah, but I think the difference is, again, like it's a one-off game here or there every once in a while compared to like unlocking Game Pass, an entire library of things. And again, some of the things in that library are like quote unquote exclusive to Xbox and PC, to suddenly it pops up on Linux or whatever. Like that would just like, I don't know. Again, it's
at the end of the
I'm
day,
not saying
they're
it's a
still
good.
giving they're still giving
Yeah.
Xbox the money.
I'm not saying it's a good argument. I'm just
No,
saying
I'm not trying to do
that's
I'm just
I'm saying that's the only way I can rationalize it in my head why they haven't done it so far, is probably
Right.
it's just like, hey, like this petty thing where it's like, oh, they're our competitor, we're not going to work
well
with
at this
Linux.
point
but-
Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot of reason to be petty for a lot of things right now. They need
That's
all the
true.
help they can get. I mean, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but
That is
if
true.
I'm old Phil, I'm knocking on Gabe's door saying, hey, you got a
Let's
nice
work
Steam
something
Deck
out.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that, let's move on here to this next story, because we are 50 minutes into this show and we've done one news story. So this might be just a 2-story episode. How about that? The last episode, let me spoiler it for the third news story. It was just about the Activision Blizzard deal getting shut down, but whoop-de-doo. But this is kind of the bigger deal right here. And this is what we've been alluding to multiple times throughout the episode, this big dog story here. Really, it's not a specific story, but I do have a story here. Here we go. Forbes. I was trying to find it. Written by Paul Tassi over there. Redfall reviews are here, and they are a bloodbath. This game releases tomorrow as a recording. It'll be yesterday as whenever you guys get the episode on Wednesday. While Redfall isn't the biggest game Microsoft has in the work, it is an important one. A AAA title from Arcane, beloved developer of Dishonored, Prey, and Deathloop, fan favorites, or even the occasional Game of the Year contender. Redfall was their chance to jump into several new genres: co-op, looter, open world, and vampires? How did that go? Badly. Very badly. Review scores are coming in for Redfall, and they aren't just middling, they're poor. For a game of this size from a studio that normally produces solid hits, it's wild to see Redfall arriving with a 63 on Metacritic and a 64 on OpenCritic. Let me see if that's up to date. Let me look at the new. It's down to a 62 now on Metacritic, and it's up to a 66 on OpenCritic. So it's gone up 2 points over there, but it's down 2 points on Metacritic. This is far lower than anything Arcane has done in recent years. Prey had an 82, Dishonored 1 and 2 had a 91 and an 88, Deathloop with an 89. While there were at least some concerns about this dramatic new direction for Arcane with Redfall, this is close to a worst case scenario. Other critics are saying this year, GameSpot gave it a 4 out of 10. Arcane takes a stab at infusing the genre du jour with its signature style, but the end results are a bloody mess. Games Radar gave it a 5 out of 10. Redfall is ultimately not up to Arcane's usual standards, and it feels rushed, unfinished, unsatisfying to play. IGN has an unscored review in progress because they got the game so last minute, they just haven't had enough time to put into it for them to feel comfortable giving a score yet. I must admit, I'm thoroughly underwhelmed by Redfall's vanilla missions and lifeless world, and very disappointed at its lengthy list of display issues and bugs. There are a few 7s, 8s, and an 8.5 or 2 scattered in there, but this is pulling more 4s, 5s, and 6s, even from major outlets, than any game would be remotely comfortable with. The article here on Forbes goes on, but we get the point. Redfall really is not delivering. And Adrian, do you think this is indicative of like an issue just within Arcane? Do you think this is something like bigger with Microsoft in general? And should we be worried? I think you tweeted about this. Should we be worried about Starfield at this point?
So this is an interesting case because I think it's tough to pin it on one specific party, right? On one hand, you could say this might be an Arcane doing, it might be them on their own, because this is so out of their wheelhouse, I think. Granted, they've made a lot of first-person games before, but a 4-player online multiplayer shooter is a big departure for them. So I could see many avenues where that could go wrong. And if that's just the case, that, they were out of their depth and it didn't work out, hey, they're not the first to, the first studio with a good track record to make a subpar game. They're not going to be the last. They're just going to have to take those lumps. But it could also be Microsoft who could possibly be at fault, because with them being spread so thin between not only their own internal studios, but all the studios within Bethesda that they're supporting, and now trying to, with all their attention diverted with this Activision Blizzard, what would have been deal.
Yeah.
If Arcane needed support on things, it may have been tough for them to actually reach out to Microsoft and get constant high quality support that they needed. And if that was the case and they couldn't get it, and Microsoft said, well, we got to have something on the shelf, send it out, then that's on Microsoft. And if that's the case, that's very unfortunate for Arcane. So it's like I was saying, is we were talking before the show, we unfortunately probably won't know who exactly is the cause of Redfall being in the state it's in, unless somebody like a Jason Schreier goes in and tries to figure out what went wrong with this game. All that we know right now is that it didn't deliver, and it is the newest in a long line since the Xbox One days of Xbox first party titles that on a majority basis are not delivering. So
yeah, I don't know. I know technically it wasn't an Xbox joint, but it just makes me worry, like, oh man, is this another situation where maybe they were just rushed, kind of like a Cyberpunk situation? Like maybe they just needed more time, but it's like Xbox is like, we don't have anything coming out for the next 2 years. Just push it out. We got to get it out there. Or was it just, like you said, like, no, it was an internal Arcane thing and they were just, so out of their pocket. They were just having a hard time with it. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Only time will tell. Maybe we'll never know. But if it's an Arcane issue, like, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but at least it's localized. But the biggest worry is, when you like touching on the whole like distraction, very obviously a distraction, the whole Activision Blizzard deal. It's been going on the last year, and some change. If that was part of the reason this game is bad, that is worrisome for other properties coming out, for especially like Starfield and well, that's the only other game we know of, right? That we haven't really heard about any other game coming from Xbox at this point.
But they even have their hands full with just Bethesda, like I was saying. So
yeah,
and they got their own internal studios, so they are already could have been stretched thin with just that. But not, like I was saying, you drop an Activision on top of that, which imagine if that would have actually gone through.
Yeah. There's just a lot. They're just trying to spin too many plates at once, and it's catching up to them. Like they're starting to fall and break, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
Yeah, it's sad. It really is sad. And I mean, because I imagine this is coming to Game Pass, so I'm sure I'll fire it up and give it a shot because it's free. Might as well.
Let me know.
But I don't necessarily see myself putting too much time in it. From what I'm hearing, I'm like, oh, this is exactly like the things that people are saying are good about the game. Like, oh yeah, because there are, like, even the people giving it like a 4 or 5, they're like, there are things that are good about it. It's just overall bad. The things that are saying are good are things that just I don't care about, or that I generally find boring about that genre of game. I'm like, oh, you're saying they're doing it well, but that thing they're doing well is the thing that I don't care about in shooters, like looter shooters and stuff like that, like Destiny or Borderlands and stuff like that, where like, those types of games grab me for a short amount of time and then I just get bored of that same wash, rinse, repeat. So it's like, all right, they're doing this thing good that I don't care about. So that's a bummer. It's sad. This game, I remember seeing trailers when they first announced it. I think we have video footage of it. You could probably go back and watch.
Yeah.
The first trailer of, because it was at Summer Game Fest at the Xbox thing, like when they showed a trailer, like me being like, oh my gosh, this looks so awesome. Like I'm so down.
Highlight,
like,
I think.
Yeah, like we were stoked about this game. I was stoked about this game. And then to like, get these reviews coming out and just, even early previews were not looking great. It's like, oh man, such a bummer. Like this super high and just to be let down. And even before the show we were talking about like, man, a couple years ago, like me and JJ and like we were coming around, like I was a big time Sony pony, and I obviously being the influence on JJ, he was a big Sony pony, but like a couple years ago there was a point where like we were both like, no way, like Xbox is the way to go. Like Game Pass is awesome, like their games are putting out are killer, and like the future they have envisioned is fantastic. And we bought into that. And then here we are, like, a couple years later, it's like, wow.
They were in such a good place to turn it around right before the series consoles dropped, dude. Like they had everything lined up. They had all the software getting ready to go. To this day, I will go to the mat and say that of the two major consoles, I do think the Series X is the better of the two as far as hardware design and execution. And I'm not saying that to disparage PS5. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think as far as hardware is concerned, Xbox is the more well executed of the two consoles.
Yeah. Interestingly, I have a Selkies is in the chat, and he is saying that I just finished playing it. I've been having a wonderful time with it. Me and a friend had a wonderful time. Slight adjustments to controls. Other than that, it's been good. Quirky, fun gameplay, and enemies feel tough but not overwhelming. That's interesting.
The one person that got through it without all the issues and bugs.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious, because granted, I'm sure there's a massive day one patch. Like a lot of these reviewers think about it, like they played it today and yesterday, basically, with no day one patch, so they would have been having a lot of issues. But yeah, I'm curious, Selkie, though, like how much time you put into it, and then and once you do put more time into it, what your thoughts are then? Because that's what we're hearing from the reviews, is not only is it buggy and janky, but there's just no substance. Like it just, the first few hours felt fine, and then it's like, oh, this is the whole game. This is the same thing over and over again. So I'd be curious what you're, tune in next week and let us know, like, hey, update on Redfall. It sucks, or maybe it's great, but I don't know. And again, like with any video game, with anything, to each their own. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion. Like games that are my game to someone else they would think are complete trash, and vice versa. So it's like, I totally get, like, some people are going to play this and be like, holy crap, this game is a 10 out of 10 and lose their minds. But for me, yeah, reading the reviews and seeing, like, hearing like I said a minute ago, the things that the reviews are saying they're doing well are all things that I could care less about in a game. It's like, oh, okay, well, those are the things I don't care about. So, yeah. So, Selkie says, sure, I'd be glad to do a review for you guys. So, hey, Selkie,
absolutely.
Are you free next Monday at 7:30? You can join us right here on the episode. I don't think we've ever been on a main show, so maybe let's do it. I've been wanting to have the Selkies on for like years, so maybe go ahead, play some more Redfall, and we'll have you back here next week. Maybe
posted.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Maybe I'll hit you up after the show here on Discord, and we'll nail things down. But yeah, so that's that. The third story, like I said, we don't need to get super into it, and we already touched on it. Activision Blizzard deal was shut down by the UK. They did not like it over there. The $69 billion deal is in the works for months. CMA said that the purchase would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come. Apparently, Xbox is going to try to appeal this. but I think you kind of know our thoughts at this point. Like,
yeah,
me
What I was
personally, I was kind of relieved to hear that it got shut down, because it's like
yes, absolutely.
they initially we were so stoked about it, but now it's like they can barely handle what they have now. Let's let the waters settle here, and figure out like, okay, what's our rhythm with the studios that we have? What's going to be our game plan? And then let's add some new stuff in there. But right now it's like they're sitting over like the pot of stew, their pot of soup, and they're just dumping spices in there, and it's like, whoa, let's like step back and let it simmer a little bit. Let's do a little taste test, make sure this is good, and you're not just adding a bunch of trash in there. It's going to taste like trash, Oh man. Yeah, so I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that more thoughts on the deal getting shut down, or just you've already kind of shared them?
No, I said it on Twitter, and I think we talked about it in prior episodes. I think honestly, this is for the best. I was stoked on it originally because this was before we found out that Microsoft behind the scenes was not able to manage the load, even with just Bethesda. When we started to see signs of games getting delayed and titles coming out from Xbox Game Studios that were subpar, and the big kicker was really Halo, how they dropped the ball with that. And it's like, all right, maybe we need to take a step back. So I think in the long run for Xbox, this is for the best, because now they get to step back and really focus on what they have already, which is their main studios in Bethesda. Mm-hmm. I do think, unfortunately, people are going to lose their jobs over this, which is part of the territory when acquisitions like this don't go through. I think it would be best for Microsoft right now to take a couple of years off of trying to acquire studios, just to let the heat from this die down. Yes. Because nobody, if Microsoft came knocking at your door, right now their name is mud as far as acquisitions go. So I don't think there's anybody that's going to be waiting to be, bought up when you see exactly what happens to people or to companies and studios that they buy. So
the only thing, so this just popped in my head with the merger. One of the things that we were stoked about initially with the merger is because right before they announced the buyout, remember the months like 2 or 3 months leading up to that, all the stuff came out about Bobby Kotick. Remember that?
They were going to oust him out of there.
It was literally like 2 or 3 months of hearing all this garbage about this Bobby Kotick, all the nasty stuff he's doing. And then suddenly Xbox is like, we're going to buy it. And so I remember our first reaction was like, good, get in there and clean it up, dude. Like, get him out of there. Like, get someone new. With this happening, like at this point, like he's still the chief exec. He's a CEO of, over there. And it doesn't seem like anything's going to change anytime soon. So it's like, I almost feel bad for Blizzard Activision more than Xbox. Cause it's like, man, like I remember at least our initial reactions a year ago when they announced it was like, man, like they could really change the company culture, because Microsoft seems, at least from what we hear, to have a pretty decent company culture. Like things have changed a lot in the last few years in the Microsoft sphere and Xbox game studios. And so we're like, man, if they could get in there and kind of take care of things at Activision Blizzard and clean up with this new company culture. And it's like, oof, man, like Bobby Kotick's still in charge. And I mean, because the headline has been about the acquisition, it's like all the trash and garbage that he was doing has kind of been swept under the rug the last year. And it's unfortunate because like you think about it, like all these people could very well still be going through all the trash they've been going through for years, being harassed or having whatever, like all the stuff that just came out about him, like that all could have been going on behind the scenes, but everyone's too worried about the big acquisition than they are about what old Bobby Kotick's doing over there and his cronies or whatever. So it's like,
well, I think the state investigation is still ongoing, isn't it?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like it kind of went hush hush after Xbox announced the deal, because it's like that was the big thing. People didn't care about the investigation anymore.
Well, so hopefully if this doesn't go through, maybe that will give the state incentive to kick the case back up.
Yeah.
Now that they're not under the protection and banner of somebody as big as Microsoft, who could, in theory, go to court with the state because they're that big over these kinds of charges. So yeah, it would be nice.
We will see. Time will
but
tell.
Yeah, I think it overall, as far if we're speaking strictly with product and with game development, I think this is better for Microsoft over in the long run.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. All right. Well, that is it for the nerdy news this week. Now, it is time for our Patreon ad. This is the part of the show where I tell you to go over to patreon.com/supergamerboys and support us over there, starting at just $1 a month. That's right, at $1, you can get episodes early and ad-free, such as this show and Super Gamer Book Club. Get those 2 months ahead of time and listen to all the goodness. This show, as soon as we're done recording, I edit this baby up, send it out to you guys to enjoy right away before everyone else on Wednesday. You'll at $5 a month, you can get the show notes ahead of time where you can see what we're going to be talking about. Yesterday when I write them up, you'll get the email. You can go in there, look at the news stories, leave your own questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, leave your own listener questions on there. You can answer the listener questions. Whatever you want to write on the show notes, write it on there. Leave your comment. I think you click leave a comment, and then we'll share it here on the show. So really, it doesn't have to be about the show at all. I mean, we may not read it, but you could write whatever you want on the show notes for us to see. So think about checking that out. $5 a month. You'll know what's going on ahead of time. $10 a month, you are a Super Gamer sponsor. If you just love our stuff and love hearing your name read each and every week, you can go over there and support us at $10 a month to get the previous perks and then that extra shout out at the top of the show each and every episode. And the top dog tier, $15 a month, you can be our Patreon producer, where you get all the previous perks and the ability to pitch us segments, shoot us ideas, kind of be behind the scenes on the creative end as much or as little as you want. That is, to be honest, we have super Patreon producers who are very active and contact us and share thoughts and ideas and chit chat, and other ones we've never heard from. So whatever you're more comfortable with, think about supporting us there if you really want to have a little more say or hand in some things, at least in helping us get some cool ideas down to make the show better for you guys. So that's it for the Patreon. Think about supporting us over there. We'd very much appreciate it. Remember, if you're watching live on Twitch at twitch.tv/thesupergamerboys, you can use Amazon Prime to sub for free. That's right. If you link your Amazon account with your Twitch account, you get a free Prime gaming subscription each and every month. Costs you $0. We get $5. So think about that. You just give us a high five and $5 just magically shows up in our pocket. It's fantastic. So think about dropping that over on our channel each and every month. You have to remember to do it each month. It doesn't automatically renew. But think about that. We'd, again, very much appreciate you for taking the time to do that. And you get some sweet emotes to use across Twitch. You get, my favorite is Adrian's hype face. I think I use that one the most, honestly. It's the best. And the last but not least, w.gg. You can use our code SGB to get 10% off your order, and we get a little bit of a kickback. So again, helping support the show and getting you the energy you need. I have been absolutely loving these new W flavors. I talked to you guys last week about them, and my views have not changed. These are fantastic. Beach and peach, and then the Calio cream. Just utterly amazing. So containing Neuro Factor, coffee fruit extract gives you just more energy, higher brain function, no crash, no jitters. Don't have to worry about all the nasty sugars, and they're gluten-free. Basically, it's energy that's not going to kill you too quickly. Obviously, they say that caffeine's not good for you, but this is probably one of the better ways to get it, honestly. They have some pretty good ingredients in here, and let me tell you, some fantastic flavors. So think about supporting us at Dubby. Get some of that good energy drink for you. All right, that is it. Let's get back to the show. All right. this is the part of the show now where, Adrian, I ask you what you playing.
What am I playing? Let me think about it. Just kidding. I've been playing Advance Wars, and it rules.
Oh, yeah.
Just like last week, it's just an incredible remake. It is exceeded my expectations every time. It feels like every nook and cranny has been touched on or updated or redrawn or, reevaluated for how it could work better. There's stuff from the second game that they've brought, like mechanics from the second game that they've brought into the first game with the reboot, and it all works well together. So yeah, I cannot stop talking about how good that game is. And then alongside that, I started Persona 5 on my Steam Deck, which is probably honestly the worst time to actually start Persona 5. Because we are less than 2 weeks away from Tears of the Kingdom, and that is going to eclipse literally everything that anyone is playing.
Give it to me.
Yes.
I know. How do you expect me to play Super Metroid when frickin' Tears of the Kingdom's coming out this month? Are you kidding me?
Super Metroid is also a masterpiece. So you're not losing out not playing Tears of the Kingdom. You're just switching one potential masterpiece for another one. So
I just want to play Tears of the Kingdom.
I understand that, but I'm saying you're not playing an inferior game when you play Super Metroid. So you're not losing out. You're just playing a different game.
Yeah, but man, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be really hard. Like I've been good so far with all the Super Nintendo games, like completing them for the book club, but might be a struggle this month. I might be like,
I don't think so, dude.
I didn't quite finish the game.
It's only 9 hours. It's only 9 hours.
Okay. So I mean, hypothetically, I could get that done before Tears of the Kingdom even comes out.
Yeah, if you get on it now.
Okay. Well, I mean, that just means I need to put down the game I've been playing, but
which is
Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, the first entry in the Danganronpa series. Like I said earlier, Adrian suggested this franchise because I just so loved Phoenix Wright. And he's like, you know what? Another game that's similar visual novel kind of style. Check out Danganronpa. And literally the next day or 2 days later, it was on sale on Steam. And I'm like, dang it. Okay, well, the funny thing is I'm so bad. I don't know what's wrong with me. I have a sickness. I asked about it in the Discord. I ended up picking up Persona 5 because it was on sale.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to play this. And then I literally went to fire it up. And that's when I saw the text or the tweet about Danganronpa. And I'm like, oh, but this game, I'm really feeling this game right now. Cause I'm on this high from Phoenix Wright. So I'm like, I'm just going to dive in. And I did it because I'm a bad person.
No,
I'm irresponsible.
You just got good taste is all. That's all. And you like taking these experiences with you and having them anytime you want.
Yeah. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for making my my just horrendous ability to handle any sort of money responsibly and just spin it and get a light. I appreciate it. But Danganronpa, I have not played as much as I would have liked because it's been just a busy weekend. I was telling you, I was like, this weekend was jam-packed. I had no time for anything. But what I have played, I am loving. So I really haven't I have not gotten too much really gameplay yet. For the first, I'm into chapter 1. There's a prologue and I'm into chapter 1 a bit, but the only gameplay has just been talking to people. I actually haven't done anything else. Because from what I understood from you, there is kind of a trial system almost right? Yeah. So there is something similar. Yeah. I haven't gotten any of that. It's just been straight up
have they set up kind of what the main plot is yet, or are you just trying to feel your way around?
I'm fine with spoiling this because this game's old. It's like you should have played it by now if you were going to play it, probably. But and not really a spoiler when it's in the prologue, I guess. But yeah, so essentially, they had the meeting in the gym where Monokuno, is that his name?
Monokuma.
Monochrome revealed,
Kuma.
Ah, that makes sense. Black and white bear. Okay. He reveals that he's the headmaster of the school, and everyone's locked in, and you're here forever, and you're not allowed to leave unless you murder someone
and get away with it.
And yeah, get away with it. Don't get caught. And everyone's like, "What? Like, what does that mean? Are you kidding me?"
And they're all like, "I'd never do that. I would never. I could never." Okay.
Yeah. And so that was like how prologue ended, and then into chapter 1, like it's just like I've just walked around with what's her name? There's like the one girl that basically like apparently you knew from a previous school you went to, like, yeah, remember we were in kindergarten together, or whatever. Yeah. And so like I've just like we went to the gym and we went to get her a weapon, or she didn't. I ended up getting a weapon, but nothing's happened yet. Like no murders. There's only been like one meeting where everyone got together. Like, okay, what have you learned?
You're
so
at
just
the
a lot
tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. So it's just like so far, it's just a lot of just learning information and chatting with people. I think I just got my first free time I'm at now. So my very first, like where you actually get to just walk around and investigate yourself. So. Again, though, even with what little I've played, I don't know. I'm loving the aesthetic. I'm loving the characters that they've set up. The story sounds super bonkers, crazy, awesome. Like I'm like the whole idea. Like you're locked into school, you can't leave unless you murder someone. Like and don't get caught. That's the key thing. Is like don't get caught. I'm like, all right, I'm in. This sounds wild. Like, what the heck? Apparently, there's like a show or an anime or something too they made of it.
There's an anime version of it.
Okay. Is it pretty much like beat for beat the same as a game? Okay.
So if you do like what you're playing and somehow you figure out, oh, I'm just not gonna have the time to devote to this, you could watch it in theory. Okay. And get the same story. But you won't necessarily, I don't think you'll feel as attached to the characters as you would if you were playing it, because you didn't get to spend, those hours of time versus, 20, 30 minutes per episade.
Right. Yeah. So, a couple hours of an anime versus like what I think this game was like 20 hours or something. I looked up online, 25 hours. So the character, like that makes a big difference connecting with the characters. So yeah, I'm stoked about it. I'm loving it so far. And like every chance I get, what's nice about the Steam Deck is you can just put it to sleep at any time and you just fire it up and it wakes up right where you left off. So it makes any game super portable because I can just hit pause and all right, cool. And the next time I have like 5 minutes, sit down, talk to a couple more people, hit pause. So yeah, I'm loving it. I don't know how I missed this game back in the day. What was it? Was it originally was it a PSP game or a Vita game?
It was a PSP game, and then it came over here on Vita, and then it made its way to PS4, and then all the rest of the major consoles. The latest is the Switch versions.
Oh, okay.
I want to see how those run because I think they would look really good on OLED. I think that might be.
Yeah, this game has some like really cool artwork and like colors and stuff like that. It would really pop on the Switch for sure. But okay, yeah. So,
for anybody who's listening, I highly recommend the Danganronpa series. I think all three of them are very good. They just came out with a new side game to celebrate the anniversary of the series, but you don't need to worry about that for a while. But if you, they're on sale at pretty much all the major online stores as of this recording. So check in on your platform of choice and see. You may be able to find a deal or two. They're worth it at full price, but if you can get them for a deal, even better.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I am loving it so far. It's very good. So go check it out and stay tuned because I'm sure I'm going to be talking more about it. I'm excited to get to like the meat and potatoes of the gameplay because so far it's like I'm
the edge.
Yeah, I'm enjoying my time, but it's like, all right, where am I going to finally get like that? All right, here's like the precipice, like the climax now of like what we're doing.
Just
so
remember this conversation, because when the ball gets rolling, it doesn't stop.
Baby, I can't wait. Can't wait for someone to get murdered.
You're gonna be like, oh my God, can I get a break?
I just love how creepy like the bear is too. Monokuma. Like he's just like initially, like you just like someone was just talking about like, yeah, he just popped up in the kitchen and like disappeared and whatever. Or even like in the initial prologue when he's like the guy grabs him and also he starts beeping like beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
It's a bomb. He like chucks him and it blows up. He's like, what the heck? And then like another one just pops up out of nowhere. And I just got to the point where, yeah, right before they introduce you to the free time, like he just pops up in your bedroom or whatever. Like you're like, I can't get the bathroom door stuck shut. And he's like, it like freaks you out. Oh man, he's such a creepy little dude. I both love him and can't stand him. Like it honestly like jump scared me when he popped up in the bedroom. It was just like, what the, like I was not expecting him to just like,
he's
hey,
everywhere.
you gotta lift the door when you pull on it. And that's the funny thing. It's like so simple, like, oh, just pull up on the door handle when you open it. And then he like just pieces out. He's like, all right, see ya. It's like, what? Where'd you come from? What is going on? Yes, fantastic. So yeah, stay tuned for more thoughts on Danganronpa, at least until Tears of the Kingdom comes out.
And then you'll be on the back burner, which I totally understand.
Hey, we'll see. I never finished Breath of the Wild, so
which is crazy to me because
I put so many hours into it and just never finished it.
I mean, you could also do that in the run up to it.
I think I mentioned that before, and you said it's not worth it. I feel like I said that, like, oh, I should finish Breath of the Wild. Like, dude, well, like, no, if you haven't finished it now, you're not gonna.
You were into it.
I think I might be on the last. What is it? Whatever beast thing it is.
Maybe I'll change my tune. If you only have one more beast to go and then Ganon, I would do it just to knock it out, because it seems like this picks up from where this leaves off. So
yeah. All right, maybe I'll have to check my save out and see, because having Switch consoles and all that, like I actually never have checked to make sure that like all my saves transferred correctly.
Oh, no.
So for all I know, like it could just be gone, which would suck. I hope that's not the case.
Did you have your cloud stuff enabled?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
I did.
And you should be fine.
But again, you never know. Like
that's true too.
Technology is not infallible, you know. All righty. Well, thank you guys all so much for listening to this episode. We appreciate y'all. Remember, if you love what we do and want to continue to support us, just share this with your friends. If you're looking for a free way to support us, just share this with everyone you know. We appreciate it. If you do want to support us monetarily, think about going over to patreon.com/supergamerboys, dropping us just $1 a month. That helps tremendously with buying these new games. That way we can talk about them here on air, give you our thoughts. We can be that trusted voice for you guys, what our thoughts on these games are before you buy them. If you want some sweet merch like t-shirts, mugs, stickers, go over to sgbstore.com and you can get it all over there. And w.gg, use our code SGB to get 10% off your order. Fantastic energy, fantastic flavors. Shout out to Jack Sriracha and Yate for allowing us to use their music on our show. Find them on Apple Music and Spotify. Links are in the description below. Please go check them out. Supergamerboys.com, Twitter and Instagram at Supergamerboys. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Morlang. Adrian, where can they find you at?
You can find me any and everywhere at Homeboy.
Heck yeah. And you can find SuperGamerBot right here, just on the show. It's the only place you can find him.
Yeah, they hang around, keeping the place clean.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I got.
Well, if that's the case, folks, thank you again for hanging out with us for another week. As always, we appreciate your support in any form, whether it's just listening or telling somebody about the show, or if you support us on our Patreon. We greatly appreciate it, and we are glad that you do it, so that it allows us to share our conversations that we would have had anyway with you, and hopefully you get something out of it and it is a highlight of your week. But other than that, I have been Adrian Holmes, and from me and Mr. Garrett Morlang, we are the Super Gamer Boys,
and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Isn't it nice with Super Gamer Bot around? I feel like they get us,
I I almost feel a soul connection to Super Game 5. It's great.
Connection of ones and zeros.